But thank you all for joining us. New year, same old Citizens Advisory Board, right? So we're still looking at squares and uh, joining from some of us, at least, the comfort of our own homes. Some of us still at the office. But we're into a new year, and that means some new folks might be joining us. So kind of go through a little introduction here for the Citizens Advisory Board before we get into the meeting. Some tips on video conference stuff for some new folks that are joining us. The way we've been running these, I think, has run pretty smooth. Uh, you know, we're a small group usually that joins into these meetings, so some of these, I'll call them rules, but more guidelines, maybe a little more strict than they need to be. But I think we found a good kind of balance of being able to provide comment and ask questions. Um, at any point throughout the meeting, as we're talking about different topics, if something uh, strikes you, feel free to unmute and ask your question, and we'll get that addressed. If either you don't have a microphone, for some reason that's not working for you, there's the chat box option. You're more than welcome to throw your comments and questions in the chat box, and I'll monitor that throughout the course of the meeting, and we can address the questions that come in through there. And otherwise, we're just kind of all here to talk through what's on the agenda and kind of move through the business of the board. So we'll jump into today's first agenda item. So we have our Executive Director, Jim Kinnick, here to give an agency update and an outlook for the upcoming year.
Great. Thanks, Justin. And thanks to everybody for participating in our Citizens Advisory Board. It is vital that we have this opportunity to reach out to the community and the citizens to share what we're doing as an agency, and a planning agency, and some of our projects. And I appreciate the opportunity to visit with this group every January, really to kind of look back where we've been as an agency and in the direction I see us going. Again, I value your opinions and your direction, your guidance that you can offer us. We work for the community and work for the people in the Mahoning Valley. So it's exciting, some of the stuff we got going on. And really what I kind of do every year at this time, I look back and kind of summarize to myself some of the things that we've accomplished as an agency in 2020, the past year. And then I look forward to what some of the initiatives we have into the new year. And I can tell you that when I put that down, I always preface it by saying that, to be fair, this is on top of the normal everyday programs that we run, meetings that we run, projects that we deliver. But these are things that I kind of feel that are in addition to our work effort in projects, because we have an aggressive mentality to try to make a difference in our community. So I got quite a bit on these slides. I'm going to kind of bounce around through them a little bit. If anybody wants additional information, I'll gladly share it. I think some of it's worth touching on. And you kind of see the method to what I do here, and it should make a little bit more sense. And like I said, if anybody has any questions, please stop me. Or at the end, I'll gladly expound on any of these projects. But again, we get funded for a lot of transportation projects and resurfacing monies and smaller culvert projects. But these are sort of the bigger projects that we've been fortunate to capture some type of funding and work with our communities where we need to make fixes and really to make progress. And so if I just look at the first category, and Justin put up on the screen, new projects in construction in 2020. These are projects that we've worked on with communities. It's the Mahoning Avenue Bike Path, which is $850,000 project that's going to link downtown Youngstown with Mill Creek Parks underway. The Struthers Dam removal, which is part of all the dam removals, the 9 dam removals on the Mahoning River. That's funded, that's ready to sell, and that'll go to construction. So, when I say it's in construction, it's selling, and it's passed, it's kind of off our desk now. We're excited, and that you're going to see some real progress on that. I'm sure many of you have seen the way Lowville turned out, and we're looking forward to getting all these dams out of the river. Our big project in the Youngstown area was certainly the Smart 2 Build Grant. That's a $30 million effort, and that's already taken place. Phase 1's on Fifth Avenue under construction. Phase 2 actually will start construction as soon as the weather breaks here in this spring. That'll be the downtown streets, and that's a 2-year portion of that project. So it'll be the calendar year 21 and 22 will be in construction. But if you just ride up Fifth Avenue, you see the progress. I'm excited about that project. Excited about the changes it'll bring to the area. A couple of projects I just want to kind of talk that we have in development, haven't reached construction with. These are projects that really have a green light to get into construction. When I say green light, funding's in place, which is important. And the major project there is the Trumbull 4682. I know I mentioned it before, and we're still in design, but we're getting close to selling that project with ODOT. That'll probably go to construction in spring of 2022. Part of that is also an upgrade at the intersection of 46 and Market Street. We're excited Western Reserve Road is finally going to get widened from 680 to Market Street. That was also a project we've been carrying for a little bit and should get to construction in the next year and a half. One that's just come to fruition and just be able to secure some funding for is the Mahoning 224, the Boardman corridor, really from 680, I believe, all the way down almost to Market Street, where they're going to do some widening of some lanes, some turn lanes, and some repurposing of some red lights there to move traffic there smoother. But it's a $15 million investment that ODOT is putting in the area, which is probably in 2025. But that funding was just secured this past fall. I certainly have to continue talking about the dams because the 3 in Youngstown have been funded. They will go to construction, or really it's deconstruction in the summer of 2022. But again, the money's secured. Really excited that the Warren Dam was just notified just last week that they were put on the list to receive the funding. So the $3.2 million, or I think it was actually right before the holiday, $3.2 million will give that the opportunity to be taken out, and that'll be in 2023. One that's in development is the Lordstown Smart Logistics Hub that we actually put in for a build grant. We're unsuccessful, but we have some other ideas to move forward on that. It's a $30 million investment. And I'll talk more on that. And then we're fortunate the ODOT had a safety, pedestrian safety intersection plan project. We were able to secure, I think, 9 various intersections in the city of Youngstown that will be upgraded to really help with the pedestrian traffic crossing those intersections. Various locations, but they all had to be inside the city for just to be able to spend that money. So really, I hope I didn't go too fast. I know I bounced all over the place, but it really is great to talk about some of these projects that we got funded and we're moving forward in our region. I will tell you, I think that we're treated very well when it comes to transportation dollars being spent in our area. We're very excited about the EPA's investment in these dams, and we're fortunate. So progress really moving forward on all these jobs. And like I said, it is exciting. A couple of things I think we're just touching on in 2020 was the third call, the third group there is the grant awards and authorized. Very fortunate we were able to attract some different funding from the EDA, which was the EDA CARES Act recovery grant of $400,000. And I'll explain how we are spending that here in the next section. One that I'm very excited about is the broadband feasibility study that's underway right now. I would tell you that one thing that really got highlighted during this pandemic is the broadband deficiencies we have in our region. Now, this study's been in progress for a while, but we really kind of looked at it as the lack of access to broadband in rural areas, and then not having high-speed internet in urbanized areas. But since the pandemic, we've seen inner cities and outside inner cities just not being able to afford broadband. So we're looking at this study to cover all 3 of those with more of an emphasis on the affordability and getting to access to these, or getting broadband to these houses and these residents and citizens that can't afford the broadband. This really has been affected our education from the telehealth opportunities for anybody to visit a doctor using the internet. And then we also found that in jobs, people have a difficult time applying for jobs because most jobs are now online. If you don't have an internet, you can't see the job, you can't apply for it. So It talks about our young people in school. It talks about everybody else that's just trying to go see a doctor through the telehealth, and it talks about the people trying to find employment. So our focus of that study and the results of that study will come out this spring, by mid-spring. And I will tell you that we're very excited. We have an outstanding consultant team on that in just a few short weeks has really uncovered some opportunities for us to find funding to start putting out these fires that we really have in these locations and provide better internet for everybody. So that's really because I want to say our number one chase as we move into the new year, and what I'm most excited about. The other grant that we finally got going in 2020 was a GM Economic Recovery Grant that EDA awarded Eastgate. That's one where we hired the YSU team to turn around and look for recovery efforts to come back from the GM Lordstown that closed, and how we can diversify our economy. And I believe that's going very well. We've actually developed different work streams, and I believe we're going to have a presentation on that at the CAB here in the next couple of months to kind of show from YSU what they're doing with their efforts. But it's really to diversify economy and create more jobs. Certainly, it makes it that job focus a little bit easier when you see some of the things going on in Lordstown with LG Chem and the Lordstown Motors, and really trying to chase additional investment through business attraction out there. So we're excited where that's going too. The last grant that we were awarded was really a power grant we got from ARC, and that was actually it was $1.4 million, and that's to put the conduit in the ground in downtown Youngstown for Mercy Health through the university through downtown, so that we'd have the ability to have that conduit filled with high-speed internet here once we complete the Smart 2 build grant, or build project. So that kind of summarizes some of the projects and the things we're looking at in this. We've been looking at in 2020. I don't want to overwhelm with information. Just enthusiastically trying to explain some of the things we're doing, and trying to just share what we're looking at. Some of the initiatives that we looked at, and we were just on the news earlier this week. Eastgate's participating with other regional entities. The Port Authority certainly being one, and Kevin's aware of this. It's the Malcolm Baldrige has a program, national program that rewards, trains communities in excellence. And we, as a region, the Mahoning Valley, with the Port Authority, with Youngstown Foundation, the Wien Foundation, the Community Foundation, the Youngstown Warren Chamber, Regional Chamber, City of Warren, City of Youngstown got together and formed a team and have been going through training for the past year, and they recognized our completion of their first year program. It's actually a 3-year journey that teaches excellence. And I got to tell you, if I summarize it, it teaches the regional entities to work together, to communicate, and to align your priorities. Everywhere that the communities, there's only a handful across the country that have completed this. You've seen success from an economic development standpoint, and really an equitable economic development standpoint. So we're excited about getting 1 year done with that. I will tell you that the agencies I mentioned are all talking more about what they're working on, sharing information, and I believe we are aligning our vision and aligning our resources. So that's going well. The Mahoning River Economic Development Study, that's going to find completion by the summer of this year. It's really to focus on those 9 dams being removed, the communities along the river, and how we can grow the economy and create that more of a fun place to be, driven by obviously economic development, but focusing on quality of life, which is a component of economic development for the region. It's very important that we focus on quality of life. When we talk about growing the region through the economy, we need these young people to stay here. We don't want them moving away. And if you want them to stay here, you better give them something to do in their off work times or off studying times. So that's going to show its findings here. I know they've reached out, really kind of tough project or tough study with the pandemic, but they are reaching out to communities and having some work charrettes that allow everybody to give input, and their findings should be available later this spring. And I'm certain we'll have them a part of the CAB when they are ready to make findings. Earlier this year, and I think Mark Ragazine from my office talked about this. We completed the SEDS, which is the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategies, and that really aligns everything that we're trying to do from a region. That's supposed to be updated every 3 years. Mark did a great job working with Joanne, and we've had a lot of community input and included from this members of the Citizens Advisory Board. That was completed this past spring. The next two, disaster recovery coordinator, I know, and the coronavirus economic recovery coordinators, that was the ability using that CARES Act money I talked about previously to bring on Mike Ripko and James Dignan. And I know both of those have spoke to this group. The ability to capture both those gentlemen, strong leaders, strong friends of the community, really driven to help, has certainly elevated Eastgate, and their findings will be coming out very soon on some of the things that they're involved with. Certainly, when we look at the economic development recovery, some of the ability to identify projects to put in for more grants is going to be made available. And then obviously the disaster recovery coordination, that's going to help us to learn from some of the mistakes or celebrate some of the successes we had during this pandemic. I'm excited about James being able to look at that for our communities. I know Belmont Avenue corridor, Justin delivered that well thought out corridor plan. We want to do more of those. We think there's an opportunity to help communities with more of those. The Lordstown Smart Logistics Hubs, I mentioned that we're still continuing to chase additional investment in Lordstown to capitalize on LG Chem and realize the road communities of excellence twice. So that kind of really is, I'm sorry, long-winded, a lot of information there, but it is everything we've been looking at in 2020. Some of this carries over, but exciting stuff that we feel as an agency, we're trying to take the community a step further. I'm appreciative of the staff I have that jumps on this stuff and really is just as aggressive and wants to chase this stuff and make a difference too. So it's been a great fit and a great opportunity for us to make change and change for the good. Any questions or comments on that summary? Because I just have a briefer one for 2021 things we're looking at, but I just wanted, I like the ability to get in front of this group and kind of just share some of the things we're looking at and what we're trying to do as an agency, as a planning agency, and as a council of governments.
Looks like in the chat we had a statement from Michael. He said, "We can all use a little excitement and passion in a constructive way," which I think is a welcome statement, and I think we can all agree to that. And then Samantha had asked if there's a good place to find more information on each of these projects and initiatives. So I think, Jim, I think you'd agree our website's probably the best first look, and then depending on the level of detail, if it's more project-oriented stuff, just contacting the staff member or, myself, and I can put you into contact with.
Yeah, that excellent comment, Justin. There's certainly our webpage, which you're very much aware of, is well built out. We should be able to cover most of those questions. But again, if they just contact you, I'm sure you'll find the person that's kind of leading the charge on any one of those projects. I know that the Mahoning River actually, they actually set up their own website. I believe the consultant has their own website. So a lot of those questions could probably be answered there. But certainly, if they can't find it, they could contact you or even me, and I'd be able to direct them in the right place. Okay, appreciate those comments, and I'm going to kind of just move into just some of the initiatives and what I like to say is improvement opportunities. We like to keep challenging each other internally to get out in our communities and do more. A couple of the things that we have coming up that we're going to be looking at in 2021. I know I mentioned the Ohio Smart Mobility Summit, which will be we were hoping to have this past summer. It got moved to actually the summer of 2022. The reason I listed here is the planning will start for that this spring. That, I believe, is a great opportunity to bring attention to this area. The timing might even be better for us in 2023 because LG Chem will be hopefully up and running, and we're rolling off pickup trucks off the assembly line at Lordstown. But That's an initiative that started with Drive Ohio, which is, the statewide leader in advancing automated vehicles. They're our great partner of Eastgate, a friend of Eastgate. We've talked to them weekly. They're on many of our subcommittees when we talk about this stuff, and they're letting us bring the inaugural Smart Mobility Conference in the state of Ohio to Youngstown. So we'll be starting to plan that. That'll be a huge event. We're looking that'll be many states involved, but certainly a showcase for the state of Ohio that focuses on the Youngstown and really the Mahoning Valley. So that the planning will start on that this summer, or late this spring, this summer. The annual meeting we had to cancel last year. We have to cancel it this year. We want to get that back on track this year. What I'm thinking is a fall event, and maybe we just continue it in the fall as we move forward. Another thing that I want to just mention, that we're going to start semi-annual legislator days. I will tell you that I learned in what's now been 5 years at Eastgate, the importance of advocating for our projects, advocating for funding. It's important to make sure our legislators are aware of what we're doing. I will tell you that our staff meets with different representatives and state senators, at least once, twice a month. But I think what it would be important to have a day where we bring them to our office and let the entire staff talk and have them as a group. It'll help us continue to attract funding. And I tell everybody that the bottom line is we got to bring the money back in here to make these projects a reality. We don't want to keep planning them. We want to make them projects. So it's the only way to get it there is to find the funds. And we got a nice conduit with and track record with legislators. And you'll hear me say this, if we get money from a state or federal agency, you better spend it and spend it well. And that's very important. And then you can get more funding. And the best example of that is the Mahoning River. Every time they hand us money for a dam, we start to work on it. We move to the next one, ask for funding, and we're successful. So like I said, we're working upstream on that. And I believe getting more of our legislators aware of what we're doing can only help our agency and help our communities. We're in the process of upgrading. Of course, I don't want to say upgrading, is kind of developing a communication plan. I think our website is well versed and updated, but we got to just kind of work on our social media presence and our electronic newsletter to make sure that we're communicating what we're doing. I will tell you that I'm probably the worst. I don't know social media at all, and electronic newsletter I got to do better at too. So I'll rely on some of the younger people in our office to see how we can do better. But that's what we want to take a look at. It kind of builds off the streamlining the newsletter and the links to our website, which the staff has done an excellent job keeping that where it needs to be. And the information in there is amazing what we've been able to accumulate through the years. One thing that we are in the process of putting out, what we call an RFP, a request for proposals. We have funding to establish grant writing task order for our member communities. And what we'll be doing here, that's going to go up on the board Monday. We'll select a consultant and have them on board by the end of the month, maybe middle of February. And that's for any of our communities that is looking for various fundings, but they don't have the resources internally to write a good grant and submit it for successful funds. We feel that we've kind of captured how to do that well. And we don't do it all internally. We use consultants and we know which ones help us well. We hopefully can capture that type of consulting help and make it available. I know I talked to Julie Green quite a bit. She's looking for some help there. So this would be an opportunity for any community that wants help writing a grant. We'll have them on a task order. And what's meant by a task order is just they're hired, agreed upon, and when we find work we need, we call them, and within a day they get us back a proposal. We authorize them a day later. So it's the ability, it's almost like an extension of Eastgate when it comes to this type of work, and having that available to our communities will be a big help, I believe, certainly attracting additional funds to our area. I know Justin could speak better than I can, but he's now moving into a second corridor plan, which would be State Route 46 from, I believe, Interstate 80 into Niles through Weathersfield Township. So looking forward to that. I really appreciate how the group focuses on the area we think we can make the most impact with, and that's going to be another big project and great help to our communities. Number 8 is one we've kind of been teetering with for a couple of years now, is applying to Clean Ohio for stream bank improvements. We have an application went in for the Struthers Dam that's being removed this summer, asking for funds. we've been dealing with Clean Ohio. Stephanie's done a great job, and we're starting to get the green light that we can apply for these. So the application's in, where I believe we're looking for $800,000, and $800,000 goes a long way cleaning up the riverbanks. Just what they did in Lowville and we're able to do with that bank and some of the rock channel protection we're able to put down. If we can start capturing additional monies for some of the stream bank or the river banks along the Mahoning River as we take these dams out, it'll certainly beautify the entire area and the entire river corridor. So that's a big deal to us. We hopefully can announce that in a couple of months that we're successfully capturing that $800,000. But the major hurdle was getting the folks in Columbus from Clean Ohio to agree that this is a project that qualifies for their types of funds, and they've told us it does. So hopefully we're just looking at the finish line now. Number 9 is just focuses, we call it the Voltage Valley. That's an extension of the Lordstown build. We're really trying to focus on job creation, business attraction, and really expanding the footprint of what's going on out there with LG Chem, where they're producing the electric battery, and Lordstown, where they're producing the electric truck. We're looking for opportunities to continue to expand. We got a partnership with the Turnpike. We've got a partnership with Drive Ohio. So we're trying to see how we can continue to attract money and investment in that area to expand that footprint and honestly to create more jobs and get good jobs and get people working and again grow the economy. So that's going. I hope to be able to report more on that in the next couple of months, but that's going well from where we started at last May to now. Number 10 is we're able to uncover a ODOT statewide funding research grant that we're applying for this month. It would be $500,000 trying to help us with what we're doing out in Lordstown. As you can see, many of the things I talk about is trying to attract additional funds and get that investment in our area. Number 11 is something led by the Chamber, a Lake to River pipeline. I'm certainly no expert on this, and it's really, it's out there a little bit, but it's not. I know the Chamber is leading, like I said, leading the charge. Eastgate's part of it, going to Governor DeWine, asking for an investment and feasibility study to put a pipeline along Route 11 from the Lake Erie down to the fracking and the petrochemical plants that are popping up in Southern Ohio. I will tell you that, again, I'm not an expert on petrochemicals, but I've certainly been told that if you can get a pipeline and get this material or gases or whatever it is to the lake for shipping, it's a home run for the region. So we're just starting to put our toe in that water and see where we can run with that. The Communities of Excellence, I listed that because this starts our second year of the journey. Electric vehicle charging stations, that's going to be something we're also taking a look at. We hope to have a couple of those in our area. And then something that's a smaller project, but a Lordstown staging area that we're working with the Turnpike on to develop the trucking industry. Now, when they bring triple trailers, they want to get into that Lordstown area, really the North Jackson area. They have to exit the Turnpike at State Route 5 and then drive 20 miles to get, because they're not allowed. They don't have a staging area right off that Turnpike exit at Lordstown. And they weren't in the past permitted to drive on some of those local streets or state routes. So if we can get a staging area built out in Lordstown area by the former GM plant, we could certainly save a lot of those firms that are bringing those big triples in many miles and many man hours trying to get their trailers to their locations. So that should be an easy win for us. We got some great cooperation from Lordstown for some land, and the Turnpike's willing to help us on that too. So that kind of just takes a look at some of the things we're looking at here as we go into 2021. As you can see, and I'll have to say it again, this is on top of what we're trying to do every day, trying to maintain what we do as a planning agency. But it's important for us to, if we're going to rebound and revitalize this economy, we better be running in all directions and running hard. And that's what we're doing as an agency. So again, if anybody has any questions or needs additional information on any things I talk about, they're probably on our website. If not, get a hold of Justin or myself, And if you'd like to have any more further explanation now, I'd be glad to comment. But I have, in closing, I just have to restate that I appreciate the commitment that this group has shown to our agency and the support you've shown to our agency. It's, you know, I might have mentioned it in the past. I go to conferences across the country when we can travel. I haven't been to one in a year, and they ask for best practices from agencies like us. And when I talk about our Citizens Advisory Board, many have never heard of anything like that. And I go and I give more of an explanation. We've shared some of the minutes we've gotten. We've shared some of the agendas we put out. And it's really, you should see people light up. And I know there's other agencies across our country that started this because of this effort here in the Mahoning Valley. So thank you for your support.
And we got one question in through the box. If you're able to explain a little bit more about the Lake to River pipeline. I know you said that's not really just kind of the start of that, but.
Yeah, it is. It's really what they wanted to be able to do, I believe, and I'm going to preface it again, that I'm not an expert in petrochemicals, but with the fracking that's going on down in southern Ohio along the Ohio River, the ability to move these gases or this material from those plants to a deep water port in Ashtabula and then be able to ship that stuff off would be what I would say a huge explosion of investment in this area. So what they want to do is, we have no way to get it to Ashtabula. They're talking about a pipeline that they would run along State Route 11, and State Route 11, as many of you know, from Youngstown north is straight, almost a straight line, either on the sides of the interstate or down the median of the interstate. Get through this area in Youngstown, then once you get, you know, kind of south of Youngstown, is pretty much a straight line there. Have those pipelines put in place, and then being able to transport the material. I will tell you.
Where would they transport the material to?
I think they export it.
To another country?
Yes, I believe they export it.
Oh.
So Genevieve, I'll admit that or they're moving it to other parts of our country. I don't know, but that's, I will tell you that it's a billions of dollars in investment. The real challenge is not the money to build it, because it's the challenge to get the state of Ohio to let us use their right of way and figure out how we can snake pipelines from, which comes almost be 100 miles long. But it's my understanding, talking to members of that industry, and you know what I might do, since you asked some questions, Guy Coviello from the chamber is much more educated in this than I am. And I might ask him maybe to speak at the February meeting, just to give an update on this, give a little bit more information, because I don't want to misspeak. But they're saying that if you get the approvals and if we can get a feasibility plan together, that the industry itself would pay to build the pipeline, which is incredible to me. So we're not asking the state of Ohio for billions of dollars. We're asking the state of Ohio for, I'm going to say, a couple million to develop the feasibility plan. And then we'd have the industry itself turn around and invest in that pipeline. So I appreciate the question. I wish I could answer it in more detail, but I'd be glad to extend an invitation to Guy Coviello, possibly next month or in March, to come out and give a little bit more of an explanation. He's chairing that effort.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question. And then lastly, just a couple of these, I call them conceptual projects. They're just on our radar. I'll be honest with you, some have a better chance than others. I think Mahoning Avenue, Lipton Road, they've had a couple accidents there in the last couple of years, more than a couple, 23 over the last 3 or 4 years. But we're looking to see if we get safety funds, possibly put a red light up there. The Trumbull 8062 interchange we're going to apply for track funding. You know, if I just had my experience would tell me we could probably get Mahoning Lipke Road funded in the next couple of years. The interchange is probably 5 years out. Shirley Road would probably be 5 years out. And then I keep hearing community members talk about number 4 and 5. Those are just proposed new interchanges, one to 80 and 304, and then one State Route 11 and Niles Minor Road. Absolutely no funding for either one of those available. I'm not saying they're good or bad projects. I think it's important to have them on a long range plan to keep keep our eyes open. But it would really become up to private investment to get either one of those on ODOT's radar. I can tell you we ran both of those by ODOT and there's no need. It's a straight economic development project to build an interchange at either one of those places. And ODOT's not interested in that. They'll tell you that comes from private investment. So it's really a long range plan, but it's just fair to people are talking about it. We will carry any project that people has some concerns or some interest in. But just in my opinion, I think I got a real good handle on how to get money and when things get funded. 4 and 5 are very far out there, probably 3, 4, and 5. But I do believe there's an opportunity with Lipke Road because that's a safety upgrade. And then 8062 eventually has to be reconfigured because it's very tough and intertwining. So that kind of concludes I give you the 2020 look back, the 21 thought process, and then really I shouldn't even call these 21 conceptual projects because these are probably 2025 and beyond, to be fair to everybody. But I like to share what I'm thinking, and I welcome anybody's thoughts if they have a project like we've always said, or see some other place that Eastgate can help or make a difference. Thanks again.
We had another question come in about if there's any plans for increasing electric charging station in our area.
Yeah, that's a great question. Appreciate that. We've actually put in, I believe, for 3 to 5 different electric charging stations. I think as the industry grows, we will look for more funding for that. But I think what's important is to get some in our area soon. I think they were talking the end of 21, early 22, that we'd be having. I believe our website might even identify the locations that been identified. So there'd be more information on our website on EV charging stations. We better put more of them. We're building the electric battery. We're building the electric pickup truck. So we better start populating the charging stations in our area. Great question too. Thank you.
All right. So thank you, Jim, for that overview. That's a lot of information, recapping the past year and looking forward into the next several. It's good to kind of get that all out there, and it really shows how broad of a swath we cover. I think it's really impressive when, you look back to this agency a few years ago, and it kind of was a little transportation heavy, and, we kind of stuck to what's in the tip and a few things outside of that, and now we're all over the place. So it's exciting to me, and I think, we see a lot of good engagement on some of those additional areas that we've kind of explored into. So
great. Thank you for the comment, Justin. And you're certainly a valuable part of our team moving forward on all these initiatives.
Thanks. Okay, so up next on our agenda, just a note about the upcoming General Policy Board meeting. It will be at the end of this month, January 25th. So I'll be putting together the CAB's report, and we'll deliver that to the General Policy Board. If there's any information you think is important to include in that report, feel free to reach out to me and let me know what you think should be included about our conversations over the past quarter. And if you'd like to attend that meeting, let me know and I can be sure to get you that the connection information, as that meeting will be virtual as well. Up next on the agenda is resolutions for passage. We've got nothing for the board this month, so an easy one for resolutions. So now we'll move into the meat of this meeting. So we've got a couple things that we need to take care of, and then 2 kind of announcements, just kind of topics to make everyone aware of, and actions that you're able to follow up on if you so choose. So first, just to recap, and it's some acknowledgement, we've got a great group moving into 2021 to kind of lead this board forward. A lot of returning members, which we love to see. people that are just continuously engaged. So we are very appreciative and thankful for all of you kind of staying in it with us and helping us continue to move forward, especially as things have been a little uncertain. And our new members, really excited to get to know you all better and get to work with you through this group. So really just an acknowledgement to all of you for kind of stepping up and wanting to be more involved and more engaged. So thank you all for that. Also, if you'll notice on this slide, at the bottom of the returning members list is Jerome Parm. I sent out the approval for the new members for this year, and a mistake of my own when I was transcribing the names from the applications, I left Jerome's name off. So he is a member for 2021, even though he wasn't in that email to the last year's board, but that was on me. So I apologize to Jerome, but we've rectified that solution. Got a question come in about Tom Smith being a member. I can double check the applications that I received. I don't remember seeing his name come through on them. But the great thing about membership for this board is that it's kind of rolling. So we keep that membership application open, and I will check it before every meeting to kind of get more people into the fold. There's no set size of the board. Just the only thing to keep in mind for board actions is quorum. So the larger the board gets, the more people you need to show up and vote at meetings, and they're, kind of the rippling effect from that. So great question. I'll check on Tom and see what his status is and maybe reach out to him and see if he's interested in renewing and becoming a member for this year. So the one thing we need to accomplish at this meeting is decide our leadership positions for 2021. So we have two main positions, the chair and vice chair. Chair has been Kevin over the last year, kind of. He kind of got the short end of the stick with having to go virtual and the format changing a little bit. But typically the chair just kind of works with me as the facilitator to decide, what's coming up for the next meeting. The chair typically runs all the meetings, kind of takes us through the agenda, similar to how I've kind of been facilitating this virtual environment. And they're the ones that call for the votes and things like that. Vice chair fills in for those duties when the chair is absent. So kind of a similar position, but just a backup. And then our general policy board representatives. So we have two people from each county, one representative and one alternate. So those people actually have a seat on our general policy board and a vote for actions that happen within that body. So similar to with chair and vice chair, the representative and alternate, if the representative can't make it to the general policy board meeting, the alternate will take their place. And those representatives also get to make the Citizens Advisory Board report during the general policy board meeting. All right, so previously, the way kind of we got these nominees was in membership applications, which I think was a great way. It got people, thinking about these positions and how engaged they wanted to be. I see Samantha has updated her self-nominations, saying she was overambitious. That's okay. We don't want to force anyone into a position that they're not ready for. But Kevin is willing to take back the chair position since he only got a couple months out of his run before we had to sideline. Dwayne, who I don't see on the call, had mentioned he was interested in vice chair and being a policy board rep from Trumbull County. Michael Harvey, a rep from Mahoning County, and we've updated Samantha's nomination to include policy board rep from Mahoning County. So at this time, if there's anybody else interested in any of these positions, feel free to speak up now. Okay. And it looks
Well,
like,
I wouldn't mind being the alternate for Trumbull again. I've done that in the past.
certainly, yeah.
When you make a presentation of citizen advisory board activities to the general policy board, what exactly are they expecting from our report?
Yeah, great question. Typically, I put that together, and it's just a summary of the last 3 meetings that we've had. So it
Like we
talks about
we heard from this person and that person,
precisely.
and like endorse various resolutions. Okay. Well, then I can do that. But I'd like to remain as an alternate if I could. But if not, I do find those meetings interesting, so I'd like to be, continue with them.
Absolutely. Okay. Anybody else interested in a position? Okay, so I'm kind of seeing this kind of fall nicely into place. So Kevin, we've got you as the only nomination for chair. Dwayne, who's not on the call but did express interest in being vice chair, is would be the only nomination for that. He would also then potentially be our primary representative for Trumbull County on the General Policy Board, with Genevieve being the alternate. And then between Michael and Samantha, it would just be up to you to decide who wants to be the primary representative and who would like to be the alternate for that position.
I will certainly take the primary seat. Michael,
Excellent.
what do you think about that?
I see in the chat box he said he could be the alternate.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, excellent.
Wonderful. So we've got that slate picked out. What we'll do is we'll kind of do a modified kind of Robert's rules, make this official vote. So if someone would like to make a motion, this is the first time we've got a motion in like 9 months, so this is very special.
I move to accept the slate of officers as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, second by Michael. So what we'll do is all that approve of this can unmute and say yes.
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 Motion seconded.
And then anybody that opposes can unmute and make note of that as well. All right, sounds unanimous. So excellent job, everyone, and congratulations to our new slate of leadership. I will update the CAB website to reflect these changes, and you can all have your positions starting at the next meeting. Kevin, I'll get in contact with you to talk about if you want to kind of keep having these meetings the way we've been doing it, or if you want to maybe try and get back to a more normal format. And we can talk through some ideas that you have for the upcoming year. I will also get in touch with Dwayne, since we almost voluntold him and signed him up for 2 positions. He did express interest in self-nominate, but I will just clarify and check with him before we thrust him into the spotlight like that. Okay, 2 pieces of information. So on this slide, WRTA is doing a Trumbull County Transit survey. So there's 2 links here. One just goes to our website. It's a news story with information about the survey. That second link is the actual survey itself. If you click on that, it will take you to the survey website. It's real easy to use. You kind of click a bunch of buttons. There's some drop downs. And I believe there is a gift card giveaway that they're doing for people that complete the survey. So a little bit of an incentive there. But this will help them get information about how to best serve people across Trumbull County with transit. And secondly, there's an upcoming event, January 14th. It is the first event of this series called Moving Ohio Forward Sustainable Transportation Conference. It is free to attend. It is a virtual event. And they'll be talking about a bunch of different topics covering Vision Zero, future of transit, job access and land use, equity will be a big topic of discussion. And they've got some people, some legislators coming in to talk about the state budget as well. So a really great event. It's, I think, most of the day. So, but they're structuring it so you can kind of dip in and out. And I believe there will be recordings available afterwards. So the link to register is on this slide. So if you click that, it'll take you there. Again, it's free, open to anyone, and should be full of great information. They reached out to us to help kind of set up some of the topics and speakers. So we happily obliged and worked with a bunch of other great partners across the state to put this together and really have a good conversation about sustainable transportation in the future. So as far as the agenda and all of our business, that is all we have for today. So I will open the floor to all of you if you've got any questions, comments, announcements that you would like to make.
I just had a question. Is there a possibility to get an update at some point during this year on the Lake McKelvey purchase and the plans for what's going on with that?
Great question. Yes, I believe that project used Clean Ohio funding. So I will talk to Stephanie and see what information she can give me, and maybe we can get a presentation in about some of the plans and what the future of that holds and how that process is coming together.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain a little more about that grant writing task force?
Good question. Jim, if you're still on.
What we do there is we have money set aside from another grant. We have $50,000. We post what we call a request for proposal on our website. We use ODOT's website, and we ask for consultants that are interested. And we describe the scope of work where we would ask if anybody, if they come in and they write grants for communities like that don't have that ability to do it on their own. And this will look for a consultant that has expertise in this. And so if any of these projects that I talked about, and a lot of these efforts that are being done, a lot of how WRTA got their money, most of these communities had to apply, or these agencies had to apply for funding to a federal agency. Part of that is an application process. And the application, some could be a couple pages, some can be pretty lengthy. Obviously, if you have somebody that knows what they're doing and can gather the information and communicate that information through that application, you're more successful. So in an effort to be more successful on some of the grants that our communities apply for, we're going to have a consultant on board and offer their help to anybody that might need assistance as we move forward into the calendar year 2021. I can already probably bet that Julie Green at Trumbull County Planning Commission can use help writing grants. She's understaffed and she don't have grant writing expertise. So we will certainly lend, once we get this consultant on board, their expertise to help assist Julie on making sure that grants filled out correctly and hopefully be more, the opportunity to be more successful utilizing this type of expertise. And we would make that available to any one of our communities that could use their help. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Sure. Great. Thank you. Great question.
All right. Any other questions, lasting comments? Excellent. Well, thank you again to everyone that joined us tonight. Congratulations to the new members and the new leadership of the board. Really excited for the year ahead. And we've got, I think, some great information that we'll have coming to the board over the next couple months. Jim alluded to quite a bit of it in his presentation. Get some Lordstown recovery information from the YSU team. Maybe we'll look forward to getting some more information on that Lake to River pipeline. Michael, with your suggestion about Lake McKelvey, I think it's a great topic to explore more. So thank you all again, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Justin. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.